Right, so we're going to move on to the last one now. The whole Lethal Weapon series played itself out in just 11 years, with its final installment in 1998 with Lethal Weapon 4, which, for whatever else it does, right or wrong, is yet another film that squandered Jet Li so it can get bent.
Yes, I don't recall 1998 calling out for another Lethal Weapon outing after the 6-year gap, but here it is, and we all have to deal with it. Thankfully, it is much easier to deal with this than the third outing. In what's close to being a bit of character development, Gibson's Riggs is starting to come round to the long-held position of Glover's Bartol that they are indeed getting too old for these activities, particularly with Rene Russo's Lorna Cole on the backstretch of a pregnancy. I meant to say, probably the only plus point in Lethal Weapon 3 I thought was Rene Russo. I like her character. Less so in Lethal Weapon 4, actually, because she's quite sidelined. But yeah, Lethal Weapon 3, I quite enjoyed her. However, the dynamic duo cannot help but stumble into trouble, and here, more or less accidentally, they uncover a people smuggling operation that puts them in the crosshairs of Jet Li's Wasing Coup and the assorted goons of the Triad outfit in LA, with the usual increasing stakes as the film progresses, including yet more damage to cinema's most frequently destroyed family home. Riggs and Murtaugh are aided by their endeavours by Joe Pesci's Leo Getz again, and also with Chris Rock's Detective Lee Butters, who I have no particular beef with, but he does sort of become totemic of the series' increasingly wrought struggle between the dramatic and the comedic elements, always ending up a little bit too far on the comedic side. The original got away with it because Black's comedy is witty, but efforts since then have been a touch too broad for my tastes, particularly when mixed in with this level of violence. Speaking of violence, Jet Li's pretty good, isn't he? We all knew that, and continue to know this, despite Hollywood having repeatedly failed to do anything useful with him. I would argue, apart from this, where his brand of dispassionate ass-kicking makes for a ruthlessly effective bad dude. It's certainly by no means the best use you could make of Jet Li, but it's better than most other attempts were.
It's just there's not enough of it. That's the point. It's the quantity, I think, in this film more than anything. Like, more Jet Li, please, because Jet Li's great.
Absolutely. And while Lethal Weapon 4 does start to feel like an unhealthily diluted formula from Lethal Weapon 1, and it's dragged out a touch too long. This is the first film, I think, that broke the 2-hour mark in the franchise, and it doesn't need to be that long. It is, however, still fun to revisit the characters and their antics, even if they're starting to feel more like they are in a sitcom than in a crime drama. However, I can't think of many other fourth entries in a series that are as enjoyable as this one, so it's got to count for something. It is certainly not the worst member of this box set. I don't mind Lethal Weapon 4 too much. It's okay. I can't go to bat for it for much more than that, but it's certainly much more enjoyable than Lethal Weapon 3 was. It's arguably taking the lightheartedness a bit too far, particularly given what happens towards the end of the film, but Celebi, it's all right. It's not a patch on even Lethal Weapon 2, but it is not the worst thing you could watch with your time on this earth.
Yeah, the reason we're doing this episode is simply because I'd taken a fancy a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, to watch the Lethal Weapon films again, and I mentioned it. I thought, we should maybe talk about those. On that viewing a month or so ago, I had actually decided that Lethal Weapon 4 was the best one since the first one. And then when we decided we were going to record, I watched them all again yesterday because I hadn't bothered watching them critically in the same way, because I'm full at times. I thought I'll watch all 4 of these films again that I've just watched, but I tried to take notes and things this time, and I feel a bit differently. I kind of like the warmth of this one. There's more interplay between the characters.
Yeah,
but it's not as good a story. It's not as good an action film as 2. So I kind of swung around a bit that I prefer 2 now. But that could very much be something that might change my mood.
Yeah.
But regardless, both of them are so much better than the third one. It's just the structure of this film is a bit odd. The biggest problem, apart from obviously not using Jet Li enough, which is always going to be a problem if you don't do that, is Chris Rock. Because basically, a good 3 different points to film, the film stops for Chris Rock to deliver one of his comedy skits, like from his stand-up.
Yeah.
It's so awkward. It's not like Chris Rock's bad and he can act reasonably well. I mean, as Pookie in New Jack City or as Rufus in Dogma or something, so he can do it. But it's like they clearly wanted Chris Rock to do... Well, be Chris Rock.
Yeah.
And the film kind of almost grinds to a halt. I mean, the bits he's saying are reasonably funny, so it's not as difficult to watch as it might be. But it has no business being in this film. It just screeches to a halt while he delivers some stand-up, effectively.
Yeah.
And then
That's why
moves
it's
on
20
again.
minutes too long, because there's 20 minutes of Chris Rock stand-up material in there.
Yeah, and you could have him playing the role, and it would be fine. But just take out the stand-up. Why is that in there? It's not a stand-up. It's a film. This may be like the most annoying version of Leo Getz, because I think I might have, when I watched it again yesterday, I was ready to scream. Had Joe Pesci said whatever one more time, because it was doing my napper in. Again, the fact that that's tolerable is because I like Joe Pesci, but the character was just really grinding my gears by that point. Whatever, like he's a 13-year-old girl or something, it's just, and again, it's another one of those films you don't want to think about. We've caught this person we think is involved. Oh no, I'm a waiter. Okay, prove it. And he says some food.
Yeah,
good enough for
that's
me.
good
Then
enough
on
for
your
me,
way.
yeah.
But yeah, it's the real issue I had this time, and I mean, I must have been aware before, but maybe I just didn't think about it. But Roger and Riggs are bullies.
Yeah. Well, the cops, what do you expect?
No, but I mean, like, to the person's meant to be their friend, like to Leo, they're like, it's like kind of, it's not funny. It's just mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
taking his brand new gun and throwing it into the ocean. Like, you're going to give him that $2,000 what he probably paid for that, and then another they shot his car tires and stuff. It's like, you see, I kind of don't like bullies, and the way they're bullying him in this, and this somebody's supposed to be their friend. Like, it kind of turns me off the characters who are otherwise, extrajudicial killing aside, that small matter. But generally quite likable, and like, it's actually in this, they're kind of assholes.
Yeah, yeah.
But like most of the good bits of the things is the interplay between them, and unfortunately, she says so it's Rene Russo's sidelined, but there are bits in there. She's playing off of Mel Gibson quite well. Darlene Love more or less completely disappears from this film, though. She's barely in it at all, which is a pity. But yeah, so like the interplay's there, and there's that kind of warmth. It's just, I don't know. It's just, it needs a wee bit more bite, I think, and considerably less C4 filled cars, because it's particularly bad in this film. There's one car that gets hit by a train and explodes. They get hit by something else and explodes again. And it's become just such a ridiculous cliche and a ridiculous trope that like cars blow up when you hit. But this film is just taking it to the limit, and it's great. It's kind of infuriating. If cars actually did that, I mean, people would never get in them.
Yeah.
I mean, and this isn't like top secret. This isn't them making fun of it or something. It's like, no, they're deadly serious. Like, these cars are exploding all over the shop.
Yeah. It's not the sort of parody that arguably Shane Black himself would go on to write about this kind of film. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys. It's this is supposedly to be taken seriously, despite the fact that it's trying so much to cram so much comedy into it at the same time as having, quite vicious violence and horrors visited upon the kind of families involved. It just can't quite get the balance right. It doesn't completely ruin it, but yeah, it is enough to make it an average film, rather than something that's anything like as memorable as the first of the outings.
Yeah, it's a fairly slight and forgettable thing. And if you like the rest of the series, then watch it, because you're still going to get entertained.
Yeah,
it's just it's perhaps inessential. But yeah, I mean, for all that, for the problems these films have, they do stand up pretty well. They're still pretty solidly entertaining as a series, and there's only 4 of them.
Yes.
So I don't regret having gone back to watch that. I think, apart from perhaps the first one, I may well never watch any of these again. I think I'm probably done with them for good now. I don't need to watch them. I know them so well.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you've not seen them and you like kind of 80s, 90s action films, then, well, if you like them, you probably have seen it, but check them out. But if you've not seen them in a while, but you like them, go back. They do stand up.
Yeah, yeah. But definitely worth a rewatch for anyone that has any tolerance for this kind of thing. If you somehow haven't seen the first one, then definitely do that. At least that's an unqualified recommendation for anyone, regardless of what your tastes are. I think that's a really good example of the genre that most people will like. The rest of them, your mileage may vary, but I don't think any of them are absolutely awful. So I can't say that much about any other series that lasted 4 installments. So yeah, holds up pretty well and certainly worth some of your time. Yeah.